friends, welcome to my June wrap-up part 1. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 6 works that I finished in the first half of June. Like I did in my previous wrap-ups, I will insert the clips that I took very soon after I finished those books. Today is the 2nd of June and I finished my first book in the month, The Preacher's Unexpected Bride by Catherine Kennedy. This was an e-arc that I received from the Sait book series. This is the second book in Wanton Valley series. I read the prequel novella and the first book in this series as well, and I'm really liking this historical romance series with a hint of Christian fiction. In this book, Luke, who's the preacher, falls in love with Hannah, who has been a victim of a very unfortunate sexual abuse and found out that she was pregnant. When Hannah thinks that she would raise her child all alone, a tornado forces them to spend a night alone, unchaperoned, and they are forced into a marriage. And in the true marriage of convenience romantic trope, they then fall in love. Since I do not like preachy type of Christian fiction, and when I looked at the title, I thought maybe I wouldn't like this book as much as the others, but I was very wrong. Because although the occupation of the male lead was being a preacher, because of the circumstances, he actually preached a lot less in order to restore female lead's belief in God. Especially the first half of the book portrayed a very sweet couple who developed romantic feelings for each other. And I enjoyed both of the point of views where they are feeling very attracted to each other. I've also really liked the ending of the book, but I think a part in the middle could have been structured better. I really liked this sweet couple, like the couples in the previous books, and I gave The Preacher's Unexpected Bride by Catherine Kennedy an 8 out of 10. Today is the 4th of June and I finished my second book in the month. I finished reading the graphic novel Mouse 1, A Survivor's Tale, My Father Bleeds History by Art Spiegelman. This was a non-fiction graphic biography. In this work, Art Spiegelman tells the story of his father by interviewing him in 1980s. Mr. Spiegelman was a quite wealthy Jew before World War II and at the beginning of the World War II, living in Poland. And then with his connections with some of the Germans and the government officials to escape from the oppressing Nazi regime that is happening in Poland, and also being sent to concentration camps, and especially Auschwitz is pronounced a lot in this work. One significant thing about this graphic work was that Jews were portrayed as mouses, Germans were portrayed as cats, Polish people were portrayed as pigs, and Americans were portrayed as dogs. And what did I think about this work? I have a sort of unpopular opinion about this one, because many of my BookTube friends and my Goodreads friends really loved this graphic work. I also found it to be a very powerful story, but I didn't enjoy the way it is told because it is told in a very emotionless way, and although the events are powerful in itself, it was just events put together back to back. First they tried to escape the Jews who sided with the Nazi regime, and then the government, and then the Nazis, and then the Germans themselves, and there were always some steps to escape from this possibility of being sent to concentration camps. That annoyed me a bit. But most importantly, I really didn't like the drawing style. I can understand the reasoning behind this choice to put animal heads into human bodies to make the racism issue more distinct. But aesthetically, I found it very disturbing. Maybe it's just a me thing, I know, but it was so weird. I mostly try to read conversations and not look at the drawings, but I will read the second volume in this duology because I'm really curious about the events occurring after this volume. So overall, I gave Mouse, A Survivor's Tale, My Father Believes History, a 7 out of 10. Finished my audiobook that I was listening for, Christie Fest, Sleeping Murder by Agatha Christie. This was a reread for me because I had read Sleeping Murder and it's one of my top 3 Miss Marple books. This book was chosen for Christie Fest. I thought it was a really good book to really discover by listening to it. It was written in 1940s when Agatha Christie was at her best in creating complex mysteries, but she wanted it to be published after the time that she cannot write mysteries anymore. And the book was published in 1976. In this book, Gwen, who's a newlywed young woman, finds a house to live in, but it turns out that it was the house she lived as a child with her father and her stepmother for a year when she was very little. She remembered that she had been a witness to a murder in which somebody strangled a woman. With the help of her husband and Miss Marple, she discovers that her stepmother apparently ran away from her father. Miss Marple and Gwen tried to find if a woman was actually killed in the house. Was it her stepmother who was not heard from, aside from a couple of letters after her disappearance? When I first read the book, I gave it 4 stars. And after this reread, I agree with my initial rating. It is 8 out of 10 book. I think this book is a very typical example of Agatha Christie's mystery style. It mainly focuses on the mystery and there are no excessive details and the cast of characters produces a lot of people to be suspected. Additionally, since it is a cold case, the mystery is really very interesting. I actually remembered who the killer was, but I did not remember the details. So I am very glad that I reread this last book in Miss Marple's series as well as her last published book. Today is the 6th of June and I finished Uyku by Haruki Murakami. This book's English title is Sleep and the novella talks about the condition of insomnia, how it affects a young woman who is married and have a kid. This woman suffers insomnia for 18 days, which is very extraordinary. We follow the effects of this sleeplessness stage, which actually nobody notices on the woman. First of all, I'm going to say I was very impressed by the writing style of this book. It really described the normal type of insomnia very well, and although I did not suffer it for a very long time, there was a time in my life when I could not sleep at regular times because of stress. And I really found those pages very powerful. This very extraordinary sleeplessness stage was also, I think, described very well. I liked the underlying theme of not wanting to sleep because of the very routine life that she is living. On the other hand, the ending was so weird. I could not believe that a book written this well could have ended with such a disappointment. In order not to give spoilers, I will not say what bothered me at the end, but I think this novella could have been a new favorite short read of mine if it did not have this very disappointing ending. So in summary, I gave Uyku by Haruki Murakami a 7 out of 10. Today is the 9th of June and I finished the audiobook that I was listening for my real life book club. Semaver by Sait, Faik, Abasıyanık. This short story collection actually is a modern classic from Turkey. Sait, Faik, Abasıyanık is one of the most famous short story writers of that period and of Turkish literature in general. This collection contained about 20 short stories in a very short pages of 138 pages. So with the exception of just one story, the stories were very short. And the stories, in addition to being very short, did not follow the structure that I'm very familiar with, which is a story having a clear beginning, a clear climax, and a satisfactory ending. Only a few of the short stories use that structure. So I have to say I was a bit disappointed by this book. That's why I gave Semaver by Sait, Faik, Abasıyanık a 6 out of 10. Today is the 14th of June and I finished the audiobook that I was listening for one of my real life book clubs. We read Zübük by Aziz Nesin. This book is a Turkish modern classic. In this book we follow the adventures of the politician İbrahim Zübükoğlu, who came from a town in central Anatolia in the second half of 1950s as well as the beginning of 1960s. İbrahim Zübükoğlu is a politician who takes bribes and lies to people and gives false hopes and false promises to the people in his town. We listen to his adventures from the point of view of those people who have been tricked by him many times. Those people cannot believe their stupidity because they have been tricked by İbrahim Zübükoğlu many times, and they actually mock themselves while they tell the story of İbrahim Zübükoğlu, who eventually becomes a member of the parliament by just giving false hopes. This book was delightful to listen to. I am secretly glad that I've listened to this book instead of reading it. The plot was very humorous. And also it had very theatrical moments. On the other hand, the quality of writing was inferior than most of Aziz Nesin books that I have read. So it was the perfect choice for an audiobook. I listened to this book with a bitter smile on my face actually. It was very tragicomic that not so much has changed in the past 60 years. I loved the fact that Aziz Nesin actually did not blame Zübük for all of the bad things that he does, but he blamed the people in the town who believed in him and wanted to gain economical advantage by actually supporting this charlatan. And this criticism is unfortunately very true for many people in my country as well as many people all around the world. I wanted to reread this book for a very long time. I read the book when I was, I think, a new adult, about 20 years old. Right now, I can evaluate the book much more differently, since now I'm 20 years older and much more experienced than Berna in her early 20s. Additionally, of course, we have many things to discuss for our book club. In summary, I very much enjoyed Zübük by Aziz Nesin and I gave it an 8 out of 10. So those were the 6 works that I finished in the first half of June. Please comment down below, have you read any of the books that I mentioned in this video? And if you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose politician. Politician means politikacı in Turkish, and politikacı is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.